The great hall of the Zephyrian Empire stretched for miles under a purple sky. Inside, the most powerful minds in the galaxy sat in a perfect circle. Their massive heads glowed with a soft blue light. Each thought they shared moved through the air like electricity. High Mind Veltar raised one of his 6 arms. The room fell silent. His voice entered every mind at once without him speaking a word. "We gather today to discuss the new threat," his thoughts said to everyone present. "A young species has learned to travel between stars. They call themselves humans." The crystalline beings known as the Nexari made soft, ringing sounds. Their leader, Master Analyst Zorthek, spoke through vibrations in his crystal body. "Our math shows they are primitive. Their ships are slow. Their weapons are simple." Beside him, a being of pure energy floated in the air. The ethereal collective had no solid form, but their thoughts were clear and sharp. "We have scanned their outer colonies. Their minds are basic. They think about simple things like food and shelter." Veltar nodded his enormous head. For 3,000 years, his people had ruled this part of the galaxy. They did not fight wars with guns or bombs. They won by reading minds. They could see what their enemies planned before the enemies knew it themselves. "Show me what we know about these humans," Veltar commanded. A glowing screen appeared in the center of the room. Images of human ships filled the space above them. The ships looked crude compared to Zephyrian vessels. They had thick metal hulls and simple engines that left bright trails behind them. "They have been expanding fast," reported Mindspeaker Kethral. "In just 50 years, they have claimed 40 star systems. They build colonies on planets we thought were useless." The Nexari rang their crystal notes again. "Their expansion pattern makes no sense. They do not follow logical rules. Sometimes they skip rich worlds to settle on poor ones." Veltar studied the data with interest. Most species followed predictable patterns when they first reached the Mai stars. They went for the easy targets first, rich worlds with good weather and plenty of resources, but humans seem to pick planets at random. "Have we made contact with them?" he asked. "Not yet," Kethral replied. "Our scouts have watched them from far away. When we scan their minds, we see basic thoughts. They think about their families, back home. They worry about running out of food. Simple minds for a simple species." The ethereal collective pulsed with energy. "We should make contact soon. If we wait too long, they might become a problem. Better to control them now while they are weak," Veltar agreed. The Zephyrian way was always the same. Find new species, read their minds, learn their weaknesses, then take control without firing a shot. It had worked for centuries. Far away, in a different part of the galaxy, Admiral Susan Blake stood on the bridge of her command ship. Through the large windows, she could see dozens of human vessels getting ready for their longest journey yet. "Are the ships ready?" she asked her aide. "Yes, Admiral," replied Captain Lisa Parker. "All 200 vessels report ready for departure. The USS Liberty will lead the first contact mission." Admiral Blake nodded. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had spent her whole career preparing for this moment. Humanity was finally ready to meet their neighbors among the stars. "Remember," she told Captain Parker, "this is a peaceful mission. We go in friendship, but we go prepared." Captain Parker understood. The human fleet carried enough firepower to destroy small moons, but they hoped they would never need to use it. Humans had learned long ago that making friends was better than making enemies. On the USS Liberty, Commander Jake Morrison checked his instruments one final time. His ship was not the biggest or the strongest in the fleet, but it was fast and it carried the best communication equipment humanity had ever built. "All systems green," reported his engineer, Lieutenant Kevin Shaw. "We can jump to light speed whenever you give the order." Morrison looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, alien civilizations waited. Some might be friendly, others might be hostile, but humanity would face them all with courage. "Signal the fleet," Morrison commanded. "Operation First Contact begins now." The human ships vanished in flashes of blue light. They jumped through space faster than light itself. In just 3 days, They would reach the edge of Zephyrian territory. Back. In the Great Hall, Veltar felt a strange feeling he had not experienced in many years. It was not fear exactly. The Zephyrians had never known true fear. Their mental powers made them too strong for that. But something about these humans bothered him. Their expansion pattern was too random. Their choices made no sense. Even their simple minds seemed to work in ways that confused his best analysts. Prepare a first contact team, he decided. We will meet these humans face to face. Once we can scan their minds properly, we will understand what makes them tick. The other alien leaders agreed. The meeting ended with everyone confident that humanity would soon join the long list of species under Zephyrian control. None of them knew that human minds worked in ways they could never imagine. None of them suspected that their greatest strength would become useless against these strange, new beings from a small blue planet. The stage was set for a meeting that would change the galaxy forever. 3 weeks later, the meeting happened at Harmony Point. The space station floated between two stars, built by an ancient race that no longer existed. It was the perfect place for first contact between different species. The Zephyrian ship arrived first. It looked like a giant brain made of metal and crystal. Soft lights pulsed along its surface in rhythm with the thoughts of those inside. Mindspeaker Kethril commanded the vessel with 12 other powerful telepaths. Can you sense them yet? Asked his second-in-command. No, Kethril replied through their mental link. The humans have not arrived, but when they do, we will read. Their minds like open books. The human fleet appeared an hour later. The USS Endeavour led 5 escort ships toward the station. Captain Lisa Parker sat in her command chair, watching the alien vessel with interest. Look at the size of that thing, said Colonel Ryan Tucker. The Marine commander stood beside her, ready for anything. It must be twice as big as our largest ship. But notice how it moves, added Dr. Nathan Wells, the ship's scientist. Very smooth, almost like it is alive. Captain Parker opened a communication channel. Alien vessel, this is Captain Lisa Parker of the Earth ship Endeavour. We come in peace and friendship. The reply came quickly, but not through their radios. Instead, the words appeared directly in their minds. All the humans on the bridge jumped in surprise. Welcome, humans. I am Mindspeaker Kethril. We greet you in the name of the Zephyrian Empire. Please dock at the station so we may meet face to face. Dr. Wells made notes on his tablet. Fascinating. They seem to communicate through direct thought transfer. This could be a major scientific discovery. Both ships docked at Harmony Point. The station's artificial gravity and atmosphere made it comfortable for many different species. Captain Parker led a team of 6 humans to the meeting room. Diplomat Angela Foster carried official documents from Earth government. The Zephyrians were waiting when they arrived. The humans stared in amazement at the aliens' appearance. They stood 8 feet tall with gray-blue skin. Their heads were enormous, taking up half their body size. 6 arms moved with graceful precision. Please sit, Kethril spoke with his mouth this time. His voice was deep and musical. We are honored to meet the first humans to travel so far, from your homeworld. As the aliens spoke, they also scanned. Telepathic probes reached out toward human minds, expecting to find the usual patterns. Most species had thoughts that moved in straight lines. Fear, hunger, ambition, loyalty. Simple emotions that were easy to read and control. But something was wrong. The human minds felt different. Their thoughts jumped around like wild animals. One moment Captain Parker was thinking about the meeting. The next moment she remembered her daughter's first steps. Then she worried about fuel supplies. Then she wondered what her crew was having for dinner. Kethril tried to focus his scan. He pushed deeper into Parker's mind, looking for military, secrets, or hidden plans. Instead, he found memories of her childhood dog mixed with mathematical equations. Her strategic thinking was buried under layers of random thoughts about music, weather, and old friends. Your people have traveled far, Kethril said out loud, while privately struggling with the mental scans. Tell us about your homeworld. Angela. Foster opened her documents. Earth is a beautiful planet with great diversity, We have many different cultures and nations. Our people value freedom and exploration. While she spoke, Foster's mind wandered to her breakfast that morning. She had eaten eggs and toast while reading news reports. The news made her think about her brother who lived on Mars Colony. That reminded her of their childhood dog. The dog made her think about rain. Rain made her think about her favorite movie. The other Zephyrians exchanged worried glances through their mental link. Every human mind they tried to scan was the same: chaotic, unpredictable, impossible to follow. "Your ships are interesting," commented another Zephyrian. "We would like to learn about your technology." Colonel Tucker answered this time. "We build our ships to be tough and reliable. Human engineering focuses on making things that work in any situation." As Tucker spoke about engineering, his mind also thought about his wife back on Earth. She was probably at work right now, teaching school children about history. That made him remember his own school days. He had been terrible at math but good at sports. Sports reminded him of the championship game where he broke his leg. Dr. Wells noticed something odd about the aliens' behavior. They kept tilting their heads and staring intensely at the humans. Their 6 arms moved in small patterns that seemed meaningful. "Are you feeling all right?" Wells asked. "You seem distracted." Kethrall forced himself to focus on the spoken conversation. "We are fine. It is just that your people are very interesting. We have never met minds quite like yours." The meeting continued for 2 hours. The humans shared information about Earth's history, culture, and technology. The Zephyrians offered to exchange knowledge and establish trade relations. But privately, the aliens were deeply confused. Their mental scans should have revealed everything about human intentions. Instead, they found minds that seemed to think about 17 different things at once. Military strategy mixed with personal memories. Scientific knowledge tangled with emotional responses. Captain Parker stood to leave. "This has been a productive meeting. We will return to our ships and contact Earth for further instructions." "Of course," Kethrall agreed. "We look forward to future meetings between our peoples." As the humans left, the Zephyrians held an emergency mental conference. "What did you find?" the mind speaker asked his team. "Chaos," replied his second in command. "Their minds are like storms. I could not find any clear patterns." "Maybe they are hiding their thoughts somehow," suggested another. "Some species have natural mental defenses." Kethrall was not convinced. This felt different, not like defenses, more like their minds simply work in a completely different way. Back on the Endeavor, Dr. Wells made his own report to Captain Parker. "Something was odd about that meeting," he said. "The aliens seemed to be concentrating very hard on something we could not see. And did you notice how they kept staring at us?" Parker nodded. "I felt like they were studying us more than talking to us, but they seemed friendly enough." Neither species understood what had really happened during that first meeting. The Zephyrians had encountered something that should not exist. A race whose minds could not be read, predicted, or controlled. And the humans had no idea that their chaotic way of thinking was about to change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. 6 months passed after the first meeting. The cultural exchange program was now in full swing. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had moved to a research station near the human colony on Kepler 7. She worked every day with Zephyrian scientists, sharing human books, music, and art. "Today I brought you something special," Elena told her alien partner, a Zephyrian named Velkoth. She held up a small device. "This contains 1,000 human songs from different time periods." Velkoth's large head tilted with interest. "Music is how your species expresses emotion, correct?" "Yes, but it is more than that," Elena explained. "Music tells stories. It preserves history. Sometimes one song can make you feel happy and sad at the same time." As Elena spoke, Velkoth tried to scan her mind to understand better. He found the usual chaos of human thoughts. Elena was thinking about the music, but also about her mother's cooking, a book she read last week, and whether she had locked her door that morning. Hidden in the walls around them, the most advanced scanning equipment in the galaxy worked constantly. The Zephyrians had turned the research station into a secret laboratory, Every human who visited was studied with machines that could read thoughts from miles away. In another part of the station, Master Analyst Zorthek worked with his Nexari team. Their crystal bodies hummed with computational power as they tried to decode human mental patterns. "Play back the scan from human subject number 47, Zorthek commanded. The recording showed the thoughts of Lieutenant Kevin Shaw during his visit last week. The young engineer had been thinking about engine modifications while also remembering his first kiss, wondering about alien food, and planning his sister's birthday party. "This makes no sense," chimed one of the other Nexari. "How can one mind hold so many unrelated thoughts at the same time?" Zorthek's crystal structure flickered with frustration. "Every human we scan shows the same pattern. Their consciousness operates on multiple levels simultaneously. There is no central control, no hierarchy of importance." Meanwhile, the ethereal collective had set up their own scanning systems. These beings of pure energy could usually slip into any mind unnoticed. But human brains rejected their probes like oil rejecting water. "The human neural pathways are incompatible with our energy patterns," reported the collective leader. "It is as if their brains operate on completely different principles from every other species we have encountered." Admiral Blake was expanding human presence in the sector. More colonies were being built on planets the aliens had considered worthless. Admiral Chris Hamilton led construction fleets to establish permanent bases in strategically important systems. The humans seemed weak militarily, but their growth rate alarmed the Zephyrians. Most species took centuries to establish a dozen colonies. Humans had built 30 new settlements in just 6 months. "Their expansion pattern still makes no logical sense," reported a Zephyrian scout. "They ignore rich worlds to settle on planets with harsh weather and poor resources." Captain Parker, now promoted to Commodore, commanded the defense of the Kepler system. She had begun to notice things about their alien friends that bothered her. "They ask too many questions about our psychology," she told Dr. Wells during one of their regular briefings. "Every conversation seems to focus on how we think, rather than what we think." Dr. Wells had made the same observation. "I have been reviewing recordings of our meetings. The aliens spend more time staring at us than listening to us, and their questions are always about our decision-making processes." Neither human realized they were being scanned constantly. The Zephyrian equipment was too advanced for human sensors to detect. High Mind Veltar called for progress reports from all research teams. What he heard made him angry. 6 months of intensive study and you still cannot read human minds reliably. His thoughts thundered through the mental link. "The problem is fundamental," Zorthek explained. "Human consciousness does not follow any known patterns. They seem to think with their emotions, plan with their instincts, and make logical decisions based on random memories." Velkuth added his own observations. "When I ask Dr. Rodriguez about human military strategy, her mind immediately connects it to childhood games, historical battles, and philosophical questions about the nature of war. She cannot separate these concepts." The ethereal collective reported similar failures. "We attempted to implant false memories in human subject number 12. The false information was immediately tangled with real memories, random thoughts, and emotional responses. Within hours, the subject had unconsciously modified our implant beyond recognition." Veltar's frustration grew. The Zephyrian Empire had never encountered a species they could not mentally dominate. Their entire military and political system depended on reading enemy minds. "Deploy the deep scanners," he ordered. "I want every human in the sector analyzed at the molecular level." The deep scanners were massive machines that could map every neuron in a living brain. They had never failed to reveal the secrets of any mind they studied. But when they focused on the human colony, the results were even more confusing. Human brains showed constant activity in all regions simultaneously. There was no central command center, no clear hierarchy of thoughts. "Look at this," Zorthek showed his analysis to the other researchers. "When a human makes a simple decision like what to eat for lunch, their brain activates memories of childhood, meals, calculations about nutrition, emotional responses to different flavors, and concerns about social status, all at the same time." Dr. Rodriguez had started to suspect something was wrong. The aliens asked too many personal questions. They wanted to know about her dreams, her fears, and her childhood memories. She began keeping a private log of their conversations. Day 163, she recorded. Velkoth asked me again about human decision-making processes. This is the 7th time he has brought up this topic. I am beginning to wonder if this cultural exchange is really about culture. Her suspicions were correct, but she had no idea how extensive the alien surveillance had become. Every human in the sector was being watched, scanned, and analyzed 24 hours a day. The Zephyrians were becoming desperate. They had invested enormous resources in studying humanity. Other alien empires were asking questions about the delays in bringing humans under control. We need to try a different approach, Veltar decided. If we cannot read their minds from the outside, we will have to get inside. He authorized the use of their most dangerous technology. The consciousness merger could forcibly link alien and human minds. It had never been used on an unwilling subject before. The target was chosen carefully. Lieutenant Kevin Shaw would be captured during his next routine visit to the research station. His engineering background made him valuable, and his young age suggested his mind might be easier to penetrate. None of the aliens realized they were about to make the biggest mistake in their species' history. Lieutenant Kevin Shaw stepped off his transport ship at the research station. He carried a toolbox full of equipment to repair the station's communication array. The young engineer whistled an old song while he walked through the corridors. Doctor. Rodriguez met him at the entrance. Kevin, good to see you again. How are things back at the colony? Pretty good, Kevin replied. We finished the new housing complex last week. 300 families now have better homes. As they talked, Kevin's mind wandered in typical human fashion. He thought about the repair job ahead, but also about the breakfast he had eaten that morning. The eggs reminded him of his grandmother's farm. That made him think about fishing trips with his father. Fishing led to thoughts about water conservation on the colony. Hidden Zephyrian scanners recorded every chaotic thought pattern. The communication array is in Section 12, Rodriguez said, leading him down a corridor. It started making strange noises yesterday. They walked past several Zephyrian researchers. The aliens nodded politely, but Kevin noticed they stared at him more than seemed normal. He filed this observation away with a dozen other random thoughts. When they reached Section 12, Rodriguez made an excuse to leave. I have to check on my own work. The alien researchers want to review my latest cultural reports. Kevin was now alone in the section, exactly as the Zephyrians had planned. They had spent weeks preparing for this moment. The consciousness merger was hidden behind a false wall, ready to activate. As Kevin opened his toolbox, magnetic fields suddenly surrounded him. His body froze in place as invisible forces held him still. The wall in front of him slid open, revealing the alien device. What the hell? Kevin tried to move but could not. His mind immediately started racing with questions, fears, and possible solutions. Mind Speaker Kethral entered the room with 3 other Zephyrians. Do not be afraid, human. We will not harm you. We simply need to understand how your mind works. Let me go, Kevin demanded. Dr. Rodriguez will come looking for me. Dr. Rodriguez believes you are working on repairs, Kethral explained. She will not return for several hours. By then, we will know everything about human consciousness. The consciousness merger looked like a metal helmet covered in crystal spikes. Cables connected it to machines that hummed with power. Kevin had never seen anything like it, but he knew it was dangerous. This device will link your mind directly to mine, Kethral said. For the first time, we will see human thoughts without the chaos that has confused our scanners. Kevin struggled against the magnetic field. You can't do this. This is torture. It is necessary, the mind speaker replied. Your species defies everything we know about intelligence. We must understand you if we are to coexist peacefully. The helmet lowered toward Kevin's head. He felt cold metal touch his scalp. Then electricity flowed through his brain like lightning. The last thing he heard was Kethral screaming. The mind speaker had expected to find a human mind laid out like a map. Instead, he fell into a whirlpool of consciousness that had no bottom and no center. Kevin's memories hit him all at once. Childhood birthday parties mixed with advanced engineering equations. The taste of his mother's cookies combined with calculations about reactor efficiency. Love for his girlfriend tangled with concerns about interstellar politics. But it was worse than just random thoughts. Every memory connected to every other memory in ways that made no sense. Kevin's technical knowledge about engines linked to emotional memories about his first car. His understanding of physics connected to philosophical questions about the meaning of life. Kethril tried to organize the chaos to find patterns he could understand, but human consciousness had no organization. It was pure creative chaos that built meaning from contradiction. The mind speaker's carefully ordered telepathic abilities began to crack under the pressure. His own memories started mixing with Kevin's. He remembered his Zephyrian childhood while simultaneously experiencing Kevin's human adolescence. "Help me," Kethril called out to his assistants, but when they tried to link their minds to his, they were also pulled into the human mental storm. Kevin's mind contained layers that the aliens had never imagined. He could hold completely opposite ideas at the same time without conflict. He could be logical and emotional, practical and dreamy, serious and playful, all in the same moment. The fourth Zephyrian tried to shut down the machine, but it was too late. The mental feedback was spreading through their telepathic network. Every Zephyrian on the station felt echoes of human consciousness invading their ordered thoughts. Kevin's awareness of being trapped mixed with memories of playing hide-and-seek as a child. His fear of the aliens combined with curiosity about their technology. His anger at being captured tangled with sympathy for their obvious confusion. One by one, the Zephyrians collapsed. Their minds evolved for telepathic clarity, and mental discipline could not process the beautiful chaos of human thought. Kethril fell to the floor, his 6 arms twitching as his consciousness fragmented. The magnetic field holding Kevin disappeared as the machines lost power. He pulled off the helmet and staggered backward. Around him, 4 of the galaxy's most powerful telepaths lay unconscious, their minds broken by contact with his humanity. Kevin grabbed his toolbox and ran. He had to find Dr. Rodriguez and warn her about what the aliens were really doing, but the damage was already spreading. Every Zephyrian who had shared the telepathic link was affected. On ships throughout the sector, mind speakers collapsed as human thought patterns invaded their carefully structured consciousness. High Mind Veltar felt the disturbance from his command vessel. Through the mental network, he experienced fragments of Kevin's memories. The taste of chocolate ice cream, the sound of rain on a window, the feeling of grass between bare toes. These simple human experiences overwhelmed his alien mind. How could one species contain so much contradictory sensation and emotion? How could they function with such mental chaos? Veltar severed his connection to the network, but it was too late. He had seen into the human mind, and the experience changed him forever. He now understood why their scanners had failed. Human consciousness was not just different from alien minds. It was impossible. Master. Analyst Zorthek's crystal structure cracked down the middle as he tried to process the data from the failed experiment. The mathematical precision that defined his species could not contain the irrational beauty of human thought. The ethereal collective withdrew their energy probes so quickly that several of their members lost cohesion. They had touched something that challenged their understanding of consciousness itself. Kevin found Dr. Rodriguez in her quarters. "Elena, we have to get out of here. The aliens aren't what they seem. They've been experimenting on us." Rodriguez looked at his panicked face and made a quick decision. She had suspected something was wrong for weeks. "What happened?" "They put some kind of machine on my head. They were trying to read my mind, but something went wrong. The aliens all collapsed." Rodriguez gathered her emergency gear. "We need to get to the communication array. Earth Command has to know about this." As they ran through the corridors, they passed Zephyrian researchers who sat staring at walls. Some muttered to themselves in languages that made no sense. Others simply rocked back and forth, their enormous heads held in their 6 hands. The UO experiment had revealed the truth. Human minds were incompatible with telepathic species. Not because humans were stupid or simple, but because human consciousness operated on principles that telepathic aliens could not comprehend or survive. The E-type galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest weakness was actually their greatest strength. Dr. Rodriguez and Lieutenant Shaw reached Earth's emergency transmitter 6 hours later. They had hidden in maintenance tunnels while confused Zephyrians wandered the corridors like lost children. Earth Command, this is Dr. Elena Rodriguez at Research Station Alpha. She spoke into the microphone. We have an emergency. The aliens have been conducting secret experiments on human minds. They captured Lieutenant Shaw and used some kind of mind-reading machine on him. The reply came 12 hours later due to the vast distance between stars. Admiral Blake's voice was calm but serious. Dr. Rodriguez, are you and Lieutenant Shaw safe? For now, Elena replied. But something went wrong with their experiment. Many of the aliens seem to be in shock. They're not responding to questions or following normal routines. Kevin added his report. Admiral, they forced me into a machine that connected my mind to theirs. It was like they were trying to read my thoughts directly. But the alien who did it collapsed, screaming. I think our minds hurt them somehow. Admiral Blake discussed the situation with her staff for 3 days. The conclusion was clear. The cultural exchange had been a cover for alien espionage. Worse, the aliens had technology that could invade human minds. Prepare Operation Steel Mind, Admiral Blake ordered. Full fleet deployment to the Kepler sector. If the aliens want to study human minds, they can study them from the business end of our weapons. Admiral Chris Hamilton received his orders aboard the USS Constitution. His fleet of 200 ships was the largest force humanity had ever assembled for one mission. All ships, this is Admiral Hamilton, he announced over the fleet communication system. We are going to show our alien friends that humans do not appreciate uninvited guests in our heads. The journey to Kepler sector took 5 days at maximum speed. During the trip, Admiral Hamilton studied every report about the aliens' telepathic abilities. He was a practical man who believed in preparing for any situation. Captain Lisa Parker, now commanding the heavy cruiser USS Defiance, reviewed her battle plans. She thought about weapon targeting, shield frequencies, and tactical formations. But her mind also wandered to her daughter's upcoming school play, her concern about her elderly father's health, and her memory of the best pizza she had ever eaten. None of the human commanders realized that their chaotic thought patterns were about to become their greatest advantage. High Mind Veltar stood in his command chamber, surrounded by the wreckage of his empire's confidence. Half of his telepathic staff remained in medical care, their minds shattered by contact with human consciousness. Status report, he demanded through the mental link, though his own telepathic abilities now felt weak and unreliable. The humans are coming, reported a scout ship captain. 200 vessels approaching our territory. They will arrive in 18 hours. Veltar felt something he had never experienced before. Fear, not just concern or caution, but deep, primitive terror. His species had built their entire civilization on the ability to read and control other minds. Against humans, that ability was not just useless but dangerous. Can we negotiate? Asked one of his advisors. How? Veltar replied. We cannot read their intentions, we cannot predict their strategies, we cannot even communicate with them telepathically without risking mental damage to ourselves. Master Analyst Zorthek spoke through the cracks in his crystal structure. My calculations show impossible probability matrices when attempting to predict human behavior. They are tactically unpredictable because their minds operate on principles we cannot understand. The ethereal collective had withdrawn entirely from the area. Their energy forms could not risk contact with human consciousness without losing cohesion completely. When Admiral Hamilton's fleet entered Zephyrian space, the aliens faced their first military encounter against an enemy they could not mentally penetrate or understand. Captain Parker led the first wave of human vessels. Her thoughts focused simultaneously on her daughter's birthday next month, the technical specifications of alien shield technology, a half-remembered song from her childhood, and 17 different battle scenarios she had studied. The Zephyrians attempted to scan the approaching human fleet. Their targeting computers, designed to read enemy intentions and predict battle plans, failed completely when faced with human unpredictability. Captain Parker was thinking about attacking the alien command ship while also remembering her first pet, wondering what her crew was having for lunch, planning her next vacation, and calculating fuel consumption rates. The alien computers could not process this information. They were designed for minds that thought in straight lines, not chaotic spirals of consciousness. "Fire on the lead vessels," Veltar ordered, hoping that direct combat would force the humans into predictable patterns. But human battle tactics were as chaotic as human thoughts. Captain Parker changed course based on intuition rather than logic. Commander Morrison flanked to the left because it felt right, rather than because strategic doctrine demanded it. The Zephyrian fleet, with superior technology and numbers, found themselves unable to anticipate human movements. Every time they tried to predict where the humans would go next, the humans did something unexpected. Admiral Hamilton's flagship moved through the alien formation like it was dancing rather than fighting. His tactical decisions came from a combination of military training, childhood games, emotional instincts, and pure creative inspiration. Within 2 hours, the Zephyrian fleet was in full retreat. Their ships were more advanced, but their crews could not fight an enemy whose minds they could not read. "Cease fire," Veltar transmitted on all frequencies. "We surrender. We request immediate negotiations." Admiral Hamilton had expected a long, difficult battle. Instead, the most powerful telepathic species in the galaxy was surrendering after barely 2 hours of combat. "This is Admiral Hamilton. Of the Earth Fleet," he responded. "We will accept your surrender, but negotiations will be conducted on human terms." The peace talks that followed were unlike any in galactic history. For the first time, the Zephyrians had to negotiate without knowing what their opponents were thinking. Veltar admitted the truth to the human delegation. "We have ruled this sector for 3,000 years by reading the minds of other species. Against humanity, this advantage disappears. Your thoughts are incomprehensible to us." Admiral Blake, who had arrived to oversee the negotiations, was fascinated by this revelation. "Are you saying that our minds are naturally protected against telepathic invasion?" "More than protected," Veltar explained. "Contact with human consciousness is dangerous to telepathic species. We have dozens of our people in medical care after attempting to scan your minds." Dr. Rodriguez, now serving as a cultural advisor, finally understood what had been happening during all those months of research. "You weren't studying our culture at all. You were trying to figure out how to control us." "Yes," Veltar admitted. "It is what we have always done. But human minds operate on principles that we cannot comprehend or survive contact with." The peace treaty that emerged from these negotiations changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Humanity was recognized as a major power, not because of superior technology or military might, but because their chaotic consciousness made them immune to the telepathic domination that had shaped galactic politics for millennia. Other species in the galaxy learned about humanity's unique mental properties. Some feared them, others sought them out as allies against telepathic empires. But the Zephyrians, once the most feared species in their sector, became humanity's most valuable partners. They had learned that there were forms of intelligence beyond their understanding, and that diversity of thought was more powerful than any weapon. Admiral Blake established the first human embassy in Zephyrian space. Lieutenant Shaw, recovered from his ordeal, became the chief engineer for human-alien technology exchange programs, and Captain Parker, promoted to admiral, commanded the new mixed-species fleet that protected both human and alien worlds from future threats. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Sometimes the most powerful minds were not the most organized ones. Sometimes chaos was stronger than order. And sometimes the best defense was simply being so beautifully, chaotically human that no one else could understand how you thought. The brightest alien minds in the galaxy had finally found something they refused to scan, not because they were afraid of what they might find, but because they were afraid of what it might do to them. Humanity had won their place among the stars not by being the smartest or the strongest, but by being themselves. And in a galaxy full of telepathic species who thought in straight lines, The chaotic creativity of human consciousness was the most powerful force of all.